Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into something almost all of us struggle with: procrastination. We're going to break down the surprising psychology behind why we put things off, and we're basing it all on Dr. Neil Fiore's, honestly, game-changing book, The Now Habit.
So let's start with a feeling that's probably way too familiar. You're staring down a deadline, you haven't started, and someone asks you why. What's that voice in your head say? Yeah, for most of us, it's something harsh, right? I'm just lazy.
But hang on. What if that core belief, that little voice telling you you're flawed or lazy, is not only wrong, but it's actually the very thing that's keeping you stuck? That's what we're going to get into today. We're going to challenge that idea and show you a whole new way to think about procrastination.
Okay, let's just tackle this thing head on. First up, the laziness lie. We're going to completely take apart this idea that procrastination is some kind of character flaw and find out what's really going on under the hood.
You see, Dr. Fiore looks at this totally differently. Procrastination isn't a sign of laziness. It's a coping mechanism. Think of it like this. Your brain's ancient built-in threat detector is kind of misfiring. It's treating a spreadsheet or a term paper like it's a saber-toothed tiger. So it's not about avoiding the work. It's about avoiding the awful feelings the work brings up.
Well, that's the big question then, isn't it? If we're not lazy, then what's the deal? What are these deep, hidden fears that can make a simple task feel so incredibly threatening?
Well, it really boils down to a few really powerful psychological drivers. You've got the classic fear of failure, of looking incompetent. But then there's the fear of success. And that one sounds weird, right? But it's totally real. It's that imposter syndrome feeling, the fear that if you succeed, you'll just have new, bigger pressures you can't handle. Then there's the fear of what other people will think, that paralyzing terror when a project just seems way too big. And of course, good old perfectionism, that voice that says, if I can't do it perfectly, I might as well not do it at all. Any one of these can make a task feel dangerous, so we put it off to keep our sense of self safe.
So, okay, if procrastination is really just a reaction to fear and stress, how in the world do you fight back? Well, the solution is, and I'm not kidding, surprisingly fun. And it pretty much goes against everything we've ever been taught about how to be productive.
And here it is. This is probably Fiore's most radical and brilliant idea. To stay motivated and actually do great work, we don't need more willpower or more grinding. Nope, we need regular, scheduled, 100% guilt-free play to recharge our minds.
And this slide just nails that mindset shift. A procrastinator sees play as this guilty thing, a distraction they haven't earned yet. But a peak performer gets it. They know that recreation isn't a reward you get after work. It's the essential fuel you need for work. It's what makes focus and creativity even possible in the first place.
All right, so that all sounds great, but how do you actually put it into practice? Well, in this next section, we're going to look at a super powerful tool for that. It's called the Unschedule. And yeah, it's a totally new way to plan your life.
This thing literally flips traditional time management completely on its head. It is brilliant psychology, really. Instead of building your life around this giant mountain of stuff you dread doing, you build your work around a life that's already full of rewarding things. It uses positive reinforcement to make work feel like an opportunity you earn, not an obligation you have to suffer through.
And the process itself? Super simple, but so powerful. First, you get your calendar and you fill it with all the fun stuff. Your hobbies, exercise, hanging out with friends, plus all your fixed things, like meals and meetings. Then, you only write down work after you've done at least 30 minutes of focused effort. And after each block of work, you get a reward. The absolute key here is that the pressure to finish is gone. The only goal is to start.
And that number, 30 minutes, that's the magic. Why? Because committing to just 30 minutes of uninterrupted work feels doable. It's not overwhelming. It's a low bar that's easy to clear, which is exactly what you need to break that cycle of fear and inertia. And what you'll find is, once you just get started, keeping going is suddenly so much easier than you thought.
This quote just perfectly captures the whole philosophy, doesn't it? Stop worrying about the finish line. You don't build momentum by staring at the top of the mountain. You build it by taking that one small step, over and over and over again.
So, what happens when you really start to get this? When you shift your mindset and you consistently use something like the Unschedule? Well, you start to unlock the ultimate goal. You find your flow. And this is where the real magic happens.
Yeah, we're talking about that flow state. It's that peak mental condition where you're just so completely immersed and engaged in what you're doing that the work just kind of happens on its own. You're not fighting against the current anymore. You're just riding the wave.
You know this feeling, right? When you're just in the zone. Whether you're a programmer solving a tricky problem or an artist totally lost in a painting. When you hit that flow state, all those fears we talked about earlier, they just fade away. There's no room for self-doubt because you're just there. You're fully present. The work itself becomes the reward, and that nagging urge to procrastinate feels like a distant memory.
Okay, so let's boil this all down. What should you really take away from this explainer on the now habit? Number 1, be kind to yourself. Procrastination isn't a moral failing, it's a fear response. Number 2, schedule guilt-free fun. Seriously, it's essential fuel. 3, try the Unschedule. Make work fit into your life, not the other way around. And finally, just focus on starting. 30 minutes of quality work, that's all it takes to get the ball rolling.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Now that you have this new perspective, what's one small, non-scary, 30-minute step that you can choose to start on today? Because the answer to that question might just change your entire relationship with your work.